Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so we're going to be doing something a little different today. So I recently watched a react video, because I like watching react videos, of people watching The Thing for the first time. And at the very end of the movie, something came to my attention with the infamous final scene of The Thing that I had never actually taken into consideration before. Basically, as everybody, like, I've been trying to figure out the ending of this damn movie ever since I saw it when I was like 14 years old. So it's been over 2 decades at this point. And the new thing that came to my mind with that final scene is, and we could pull it up right here. I'll turn it off real fast. With that final scene of The Thing, is what on earth makes us think that Macready here doesn't still have dynamite? Because, oh yeah, right here is a good scene. Because Macready has been literally pulling dynamite out of his ass as if he was Elmer Fudd or Wile E. Coyote for at least half the movie at this point. This motherfucker always has dynamite and is ready to rock and roll. Like dynamite and flares and like whatever the hell he uses to light it at the very end to blow up the thing. So when he's sitting there and he's with his whiskey and he's dying in the cold, I think he's just sitting there drinking a bit before he, lights up his remaining dynamite and blows his ass away. Well, Childs then comes up with a flamethrower. And what's really weird about Childs showing up with a flamethrower is it basically begs a bunch of questions. Here we go. So as we all know, if you haven't seen the movie, he's looking at Childs right now. It blows him up, blah, 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 blah. Gotta go back. Damn, this is not the scene I was looking for. Anyways, Childs shows up basically with a flamethrower, and based upon what we know about Childs, it's very sus that Childs isn't just cooking Macready right then and there. Because Childs has kind of been established in the movie at this point of being not too terribly bright, willing to kill people, and the one best example we have in the movie is Macready himself at an earlier time of just cooking him with the flamethrower at the slightest chance of suspicion. So the fact that he would show up with a flamethrower and not cook him is very suspect. But then, on the other hand, if Childs was the Thing, he should be hyper-intelligent, which means that if you're the Thing and you're hyper-intelligent and supposedly you have knowledge of every other thing that has touched you at this point, I can only assume that that's the only way it explains it, that they're hyper-intelligent, why the fuck you wouldn't just go running off in the snow as a Thing or hide somewhere under the rubble and freeze to death as opposed to literally walk up to the man who has been pulling dynamite out of his ass like Wile E. fucking Coyote. But then if you look at the timeline of when the Blair thing got infected, he might not have known that Macready has been pulling dynamite out his ass like Wile E. Coyote, and that he likely has dynamite, but it still doesn't make sense why the hyper-intelligent infected Thing Childs would just walk right up to him. Moral of the story being, and I bring this up in this video right here. So, moral of the story in general being on the ending of The Thing is, I'm going to go into more detail as to why I think this, but I'll just give you my general conclusion. My general conclusion for the movie, it seems to be that there's a lot of evidence to suggest that Childs is the Thing, and then there's a lot of evidence to suggest that Childs is not the Thing. And I think that John Carpenter, when he was directing the movie with the cast and crew, basically set it up so that he wanted there to be a lot of evidence to suggest that Childs was a Thing, and he wanted there to be a lot of evidence to suggest that Childs was not the Thing, and he just threw it all in there and said, I don't know, let you fuckers figure it out. And here we are, fucking 36 years later. Yeah, because I was born in 1985, and this movie came out in 1985, and I'm 36 years old. Here we are 6 years later, and we're still trying to figure out if Childs is the fucking Thing or not. But really it boils down to the fact that they went out of their way to put a lot of, prop-based evidence and circumstantial evidence and so forth and so on that says Childs is the Thing. Then the actions that Childs is taking are both sus for him being the Thing and being him not being the Thing, as we basically see with these four observations right here. And so we're just left with this weird cocktail of, I don't fucking know. But one interesting thing that came to my mind is that, let's say Macready here has dynamite, which makes perfect sense. So I think Macready is planning on killing himself in one of two ways. Because if the movie has established anything at this point on the subject of Macready, literally I found it funny that when I looked up how to spell his name is literally Macready, which makes me laugh my ass off. He's either planning on killing himself after having a drink with the whiskey with Dynamite, or he's planning on dosing himself with the whiskey and then walking into the flames and barbecuing himself. So if we know anything about Macready, he's the opposite of Childs in a lot of regards. He is a crafty, devious motherfucker. He's basically the Bugs Bunny of this movie, right? He is a smart cookie, to say the least. So Macready knows full well that even a small piece of this thing can infect you, right? We had an establishing shot of that previously in the movie. So whether or not he thinks he's not infected is irrelevant. He's totally got plans to kill himself to make sure he's not the thing. And the dialogue even supports this, right? So he keeps saying things like Childs asked him, what do we do? How will we make it? AKA, how will we survive? And then Macready says, I don't think we should, which Macready says at least two lines that heavily imply that he thinks that him and Childs should die. And he's being a little cryptic about it, I think, because the death can mean two things. But technically, how do I put this? Macready knows that if Childs is the thing, this means that Childs is smart. Right? If Childs is not the thing, then this means Childs is dumb, which means that if Macready talks a little cryptically, Childs could take it the wrong way. So when he says, I don't think either of us should make it, and then he also says, let's wait here a little while and see what happens, he's basically suggesting that what he's suggesting by not make it is they'll both freeze to death. Which dumb Childs may or may not catch on to the fact that what he actually is trying to say is that we might be infected, either one of us, therefore we either need to cook ourselves alive, and it's very convenient that I have whiskey and you have a flamethrower and the camp is thoroughly on fire. And or this motherfucker still has dynamite, Wile E. Coyote style, and is going to pull it out of his ass and blow them both up. Meanwhile, dumb Childs might just think that they're going to sit there and enjoy a drink and then slowly freeze to death. But this doesn't. This is not how. This is not a Bugs Bunny level intelligence that Macready has been showing this entire time. It's also distinctly possible that Childs came to the exact same conclusion Macready did a while ago, and that he needs to cook himself. Just in case he is the thing. He doesn't have any way to actually barbecue himself. It's a little difficult to cook yourself alive with a flamethrower, especially when you've got the self-preservation inclinations that Childs has most definitely shown throughout the movie. So it might be, you might be able to argue that Childs is walking up to Macready, basically, being like, okay, well, if he's not the thing, then he can help us kill ourselves, and if he is the thing, well, then I'm just gonna kill. We're just gonna go anyways. So it's like whatever, win-win as far as Childs is concerned. And you can kind of see this in the dialogue where Childs doesn't really have any issue whatsoever when Macready keeps dropping the "we should die here, we should die here" kind of line, and he also offers him a bottle of whiskey, which is kind of exactly the thing that Childs needs to both cook him and Macready if he so wanted to, right? And again, douse himself with whiskey, cook Macready with the flamethrower, and, burn himself in the process, and away they go. So there's a lot of evidence here to suggest that, weirdly enough, that Childs is not the thing. But there's also very out of character actions on the part of Childs. And one of the more famous parts of this scene is Macready gives the consistently paranoid and suspicious Childs his whiskey bottle to drink out of. Now, Childs is dumb, but it's hard to say that he's so dumb that he would think that an indirect kiss from a whiskey bottle wouldn't, if he suspected that Macready was a thing, wouldn't infect him. But you can argue that he may or may not care at this point. But quite famously, Macready kind of laughs at Childs' reaction of taking the whiskey and accepting it. And a lot of to-do analysis has been over that. Like, oh, it proves that Childs is the thing because, the real Childs wouldn't accept the whiskey, blah, 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 blah. But at the same time, if Macready has dynamite, which is a pretty goddamn safe bet, because again, we go back here a little bit and we can see that this motherfucker was just a few moments ago absolutely covered in fucking dynamite, right? So if we assume that Wile E. Coyote dude here still has fucking dynamite on him, his little laugh at the end probably means that he doesn't give a fuck. Like, he's still sussing out Childs like a motherfucker because he feels that the situation is quite sus on the subject of Childs, but he's probably laughing because he suddenly realizes it doesn't really matter in the end because he still has dynamite and the way to fucking light it. So no matter whether Childs is the thing or not doesn't really matter from Macready's perspective because he's just going to light up the dynamite and blow them all to smithereens, and if Childs was the thing, then he couldn't do fuck all about it. We have to assume that if Childs was the thing at this point, that he doesn't have the ability to actually assimilate him, like it's too cold outside, for example. Or, or cook him with the flamethrower. But it's so weird that... How do I put this? I like to think that if the thing was hyper intelligent, that he would not have approached Macready knowing full well that there's a good chance Macready has dynamite on him. But if we look at the timeline in the movie, and we assume, because it's a very good assumption to make, that the thing is only hyper intelligent because it has all the knowledge and all the information of everything that the previous thing that infected him knows. It then becomes a question of us asking at what point was Blair infected, and at what point does Blair come to the realization that Macready is actually fucking Wile E. Coyote over here and can pull dynamite out his ass. So we know that who is it? The first guy that gets revealed as the thing. So there are two guys that get revealed as the thing. There's the fat guy, and then there's the stoner guy. I forget the stoner guy's name. Palmer. There we go. Palmer. So we know Palmer and fat thing guy have seen Macready pull dynamite out of his ass. But then those two guys died, which means that if Blair was infected from the autopsy... There's two ways Blair got infected, right? He's either infected from the autopsy stuff, or the thing got out of the camp, walked over to where Blair was being held, and then, infected him through that little window, or just infected him straight up there, period. However, if you go look at the scene, there's a noose right in the middle of the scene, which is very suggestive, in my opinion, that he was single-cell infected, felt himself transforming, tried to kill himself with the noose. It didn't quite work because, again, he's infected with the thing cells, and so he's sitting there happily eating, with the noose in full screen, trying to tell us that he feels all better now and he wants to come back inside. So it's entirely possible that Blair thing had never seen this Wile E. Coyote trait of Macready to be able to pull dynamite out of his ass. And if you look at the timeline, if Childs was in fact infected when the prop evidence suggests that he was infected, again, there's a really good video on that subject that I'm not sure which one of these exactly goes over the prop evidence that Childs is actually the thing. When Blair thing infects Childs thing before the final scene, for the final climactic battle of the movie, if you follow the timeline, Childs thing at this point would also not know that Macready has the ability to pull dynamite out of his fucking ass. Like right here, I'll just let the scene play in the back as they're talking. So it stands to reason that Childs could be a thing and still not know that Macready has dynamite up out of his fucking ass. Which kind of makes some sense here if you stop and think about it, but it still doesn't make entirely sense why he wouldn't just run off into the cold or just cook Macready right here in general. Like, the thing is supposed to be hyper intelligent, right? So why isn't he just cooking him? Does his flamethrower not work? Like, what the hell is going on here? Let's see. I think he says, "How will we make it?" Such a good fucking scene. Holy shit. Alright. So he's still sussing him out here. Macready is. Theme music kicks in. Indirect kiss. From the typically paranoid. And here's the famous chuckle. I think he realizes it doesn't matter because he still has fucking dynamite. He's like, eh, whatever. I'm going to blow ourselves up anyways here in a second. So this scene is way fucking more interesting if you think about it from the perspective of Macready still has dynamite and the ability to blow himself up. Right? Because all throughout this scene, the way he's looking at Childs is like disturbingly sus. So I think right here he's looking at him and he's like, oh, fuck. Okay, there's only two possibilities. Either he's the thing or he isn't the thing. If he is the thing, he should be cooking me right now. Right? Like, I'm just going to fucking die. And then at the same time, he's like, well, if it's Childs, I'm also fucking dead. Because Childs, based on his personality, should be cooking Macready right here anyways. But at the same time, it really doesn't matter because he's got dynamite. So, you know, he's just going to blow both their asses up and so forth and so on. But, yeah, so it's entirely possible that Childs is the thing here, and he just doesn't know that Macready is literally Elmer Fudd / Wile E. Coyote. He's still got dynamite out his ass, which means this is a very fucking bad idea. Lord knows that the other, how do I put this? So the Blair thing died because Blair thing also didn't know that fucking Macready was Wile E. Coyote and could pull dynamite out his ass. Right? So, at least there's a consistency, potentially a consistency with the things, underestimating Macready having dynamite all over the goddamn place. And Lord knows that if Blair thing made that mistake and Childs thing would know everything that Blair thing knew before Blair thing made that mistake, it stands to reason that Childs the thing, if he is the thing right here, is also going to make the exact same fucking mistake. Which is why I think he laughs at the end. Because he knows full well that it literally doesn't matter. Right here. It literally does not matter. He's like, okay, whatever. You know, I'm he could be the thing, he could not be the thing. Doesn't matter. We're going to blow ourselves up. It's also very interesting, I find, that they're talking about not making it. And, like I already said, we've established that Macready is the Bugs Bunny of this entire group. He's a smart cookie. To him... maybe we shouldn't make it. He's going to say it right here. Come on, say it. Maybe we shouldn't make it. And he keeps dropping the lines repeatedly that maybe we shouldn't make it. Let's wait here and see what happens. Blah, 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 blah. To Macready, maybe we shouldn't make it means that we need to burn to death and or blow ourselves up. How convenient that I have whiskey and you have a flamethrower. But to Childs, and Childs being not too terribly smart for a long period of time, you know, he might be thinking that it means, you know, let's just die here. Let's just freeze to death here. But Macready doesn't think that either. I find it hard to believe that if Childs actually is Childs, that he also, like a human, the Childs, would know full well, I think, what Macready is talking about here. That they both need to die. They both need to either die in fire, which they have the tools to do that, clearly on display that between the two of them, or they need to die via dynamite, which only Macready would really know at this point. Also, if Childs was the thing, at this point, and even slightly suspected this motherfucker had dynamite, he shouldn't go anywhere near him, which was the mistake of Blair thing originally. So, in conclusion, because John Carpenter, I think, just set it up this way, there is evidence to suggest that Childs is the thing, and then there is evidence to suggest that Childs is not the thing, all at the same time, which is what makes this scene so fascinating, even 36 years later, us trying to figure this damn thing out. However, I think invariably we can conclude that whether Childs is the thing or not the thing Macready has plans to end, like literally like 5 minutes after this scene ends. Macready has plans and the tools available to him to make sure that even if they both of them were the thing, that they're going out with a bang. Or that they're going to either cook each other alive. And I think that's what he means by let's wait here and see what happens. Because I think Childs is not dumb enough to know, as a character, is not dumb enough to not know what Macready is talking about when he says maybe we shouldn't make it. He's not talking about them freezing in the snow. Because, again, the whole reason why they blew up the camp in the first place was we can't let that thing freeze again, right? So I think that a human the Childs would know what was up. And so human the Childs is like, okay, let's wait here a little bit, and then I'll cook each other both. And then Macready's over here thinking either exactly the same thing, or he's got dynamite and he's planning on blowing them up. And so when he says, let's wait here and see what happens, what he means is, let's wait here for 5 to 10 minutes, enjoying some whiskey and relaxing, and maybe Childs will be like, okay, now I need to cook you with the flamethrower and then kill myself because I know I'm human. And then Macready would probably whip out some dynamite and be like, oh, I got a better way for us to go, and then, kablooski. Conversely, if Childs was human when he first shows up and this scene played out completely differently, like let's say Childs was actually human and he walks up to him and he's like, hey, I know I'm human. I don't know you're human, therefore I'm going to cook you, and then I got to go kill myself, just to make sure. Again, this scene would probably play out with Macready whipping out some dynamite or holding up the whiskey, and you'd be like, hey, if we're going to go, make it easier on yourself. Dynamite, whiskey, let's fucking do this. But instead, I think that they're just going to wait here a little bit, relax, and then they're going to kill themselves. Like that, if they're both human, this is the only logical conclusion, right? If one of them is the thing, right, aka the only one that we know of that can be the thing, I'm just rolling through the possibilities here. If both of them are human, Macready is smart enough to bring up the subject that they're both going to have to die, whether or not Childs is smart enough to pick up on this or not. If Childs is the thing, which is the only one that we can be aware of is the thing, because we've been following Macready this entire time, Macready likewise isn't stupid, and he's going to make sure that they both die either by fire or going boomba. And knowing Macready pulling fucking dynamite out his ass this entire time, he more than likely has dynamite here, which means conclusion is that whether Childs is the thing or not, 5 to 10 minutes from this scene, both of them are either burning to death or they're blowing themselves up in dynamite. So, and this is all based upon Macready not being fucking stupid. If the movie has shown us anything we can rely on for certain, it is that Macready is not dumb and his actions are usually pretty on the ball. So anyways, I'm going to end the video there. So the thing ending explained, it comes down to the conclusion of we cannot entirely be sure if Childs is the thing or not. But the one thing that we can be sure of is that whether he is the thing or not, he done fucked up by coming over here. And Macready is more than likely, like 90% certain, that he's going to find a way to kill them both. Right? Because he's Macready. And that's just what he does. He just literally pulls dynamite out of his fucking ass. So anyways, dig us, Volt Boys, and I'm going to end the video here.